to start by saying good morning.
Good
and
morning.
yes, and everybody, if you haven't met the lovely Theresa Diederich, she is here in the studio. This is the first time we've done an in-person Q&A, so I'm
It's so
super
nice.
excited. I
Yes,
know, and in our
honestly,
lovely studio.
yeah, oh my gosh, the studios are great. And we were just saying before this that I feel like this spot does not get enough play. So I'm really glad we're using this space today. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm Theresa Diederich. If we haven't met, I mean, everybody here knows Jessica. She's
Oh
famous
my
and
gosh.
infamous.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Thank
and the force
you.
behind all this. So, super excited to talk about voiceover and acting in general today. Yeah, so we're gonna kick things off. Definitely,
Yes.
if you have questions, start throwing
Mhm.
them in the chat. I'll do my best to get to as many as I can. It's a very free-flowing
Yes.
conversation. So
Yeah, and open to anything
yeah.
about, voiceover, the industry, the process for getting work, finding work, kind of anything that you've had on your mind, stuff you're experiencing in the industry, or just acting in general too. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe as a start, if you want to throw in the chat, like how on a scale of 1 to 10, one being like, I feel terrible and I don't want to get out of bed, and 10 being like, I am booked, busy, and blessed. How do you feel about your voiceover and acting career
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
today?
And maybe you're just getting started, and that is totally great.
0. Oh no,
No,
Bob!
Bob.
Oh no,
But Bob,
honestly,
no, Bob, you're amazing. And
relatable.
yes, yes, we produced Bob's demo. His demo reel is amazing. I use Bob as an example a lot because he is someone who thought outside of the box when it came to being super creative with, hi, Tyler, welcome. Being super creative with finding work and booking jobs. And so, I use Bob's example of he did a pickleball commercial for a local pickleball court, an amazing facility in his hometown. And, think outside of the box. My friend John Banks did a pizza commercial for a place that he does open mic nights. Well, he used to, he moved away, but he was like, they don't have a spot on the radio or on social media. So I'm going to create a spot and I'm going to pitch it to them. And he did, and they gave him free pizza for the year and
Oh
then
my
paid him
gosh.
for his work. So yes, so good job, Bob. You're being creative and you're growing your resume, and then we'll get you an agent. You're doing great.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
I know. I know.
And that's such good hustle. And I
Yeah.
feel like that is so much of what it takes to make it in this industry is just getting, I mean, I know it is a creative field, so we are
Hmm.
all creative, but I do feel like you have to be really creative with your career
You do.
and
Yeah.
really take the initiative and find ways to just like find brands that you like or
Yeah.
people to reach out to and like find an in. So,
Hmm.
Bob, sounds like you're crushing it. I hope by the end of this session we can
Celebrate.
get
Yes.
that up to like at least a 5. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I know. And celebrate the
Yeah.
victories. Even, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. How important is it to create a demo? Okay, I think that's a really great place to start. Do you want to
Okay.
jump in there?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Acting demos and voiceover demos go through waves. Years ago, in order to get an agent, you had to have a demo reel. And the industry standard for voiceover and, for acting is a little different for your on-camera demo, but for voiceover, it was 60-second commercial demo reel and just focused on commercial. You're not infusing that 60 seconds with anything animation related, anything e-learning. It's solely commercial. And so that kind of changed when pay to plays became more popular. They started to limit the length of time a demo or a sample could be on those platforms. And actually, the clients started to prefer simple samples that were related, like, a mac and cheese ad. They're not going to want to hear your medical spot that you did for a local hospital. They're going to want to hear something along the lines of a food product, or
Interesting.
something with a similar energy to like Kraft mac and cheese. And so those standalone samples became really popular, and so I would just keep a library of those. I had a demo reel, but rarely did they want to hear my demo. They wanted to hear clips that were related to what I'm auditioning for. Now I'm starting to find a trend with them offering pre-screens on the audition sites. So if you aren't going through an agent to get your work and you're using those pay-to-play platforms like voices.com, Voice 123, Backstage, they're all asking for a pre-screen and they provide you the script. So again, they might ask for a demo, but they're not going to ignore you because you don't have a demo. They're going to offer that pre-screen option.
Which is essentially like offering the audition before the audition,
Yep.
right? Like you submit the
Yep.
audition as part of your submission.
Yep.
Yeah, that is okay. I have a couple thoughts there. One,
Yeah.
that's definitely something that I've tried to do. I am also, by the way, for everyone, very new to acting. I just got into this in the past year, so I am in exactly the same boat as everyone, being like, this is thick as mud to me. How do I navigate this insane industry? Uh, One thing I try to do with the pre-screens like that
Mhm.
is I'll view it as an acting exercise
Yep.
if I have time.
Absolutely.
So if I have a week where I'm like, oh, I don't have an audition or I don't have something to work on, I'll try to find one of those and be like, well, here's something I can work on,
Yep.
and
Exactly.
then come in here and record it. And then at least it feels like I'm making movements forward
Hmm.
in my career or like taking some initiative,
Yeah.
because I think I don't know about for you all but I definitely feel like the one of the hardest parts is when you just feel like all of a sudden you just hit a wall and then there's nothing and you're like,
Hmm.
I'm not in class, I don't have
Yeah.
anything booked,
Right.
I don't have anything to work on. Everybody says I should like work on my acting career every day, but like, how do I do that
Yeah.
actually?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm actually kind of appreciative for opportunities like that to be like, okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
here's something if I have a spare few hours
Exactly. I
to
mean,
do.
it's never going to hurt to practice with those auditions and those pre-screens. And what's great is a lot of those sites actually encourage you to then you can use that as a sample to audition for other things. You like ACX, Audiobook Creation Exchange, for example, specifically encourage you to use those auditions for other projects on your profile as samples. So it's kind of like getting free access to scripts that you're practicing anyway. Just because you didn't book it doesn't mean you can't use that as a sample to showcase your work. Yeah, so demos, the agents are going to want a demo reel. Just because you have that agent doesn't mean you're going to get a ton of work. And so there are just a lot of things that come into play with that. The one thing I will also say about rushing to get a demo reel done, don't let not having a demo hold you back. Continue to audition, especially anywhere you can find stuff. People are using Discord, Facebook, but don't jump the gun and do the demo reel too early in your career either, because I find anyone who comes in feeling ready for that demo and then we get to coaching and they aren't quite there yet, or maybe 6 months from now they've improved dramatically from that demo reel session, and then we want to like go back through and re-record it. So continue to practice until you feel ready to do that demo reel, and then we customize, make sure that the scripts are customized to you and your voice and your things that you would actually be selling that work for your brand.
Yeah. Okay. And I feel like that leads me to a related question I have, which is when we talk about demo reel,
Mm-hmm.
does that mean um like fully edited as if it was a complete spot in a commercial? I feel like for these sample reads, for example,
Mm-hmm.
you're obviously not going to like do music over and
Right.
like do the whole thing. It's
Right.
really just your performance and that's what you're bringing. So I guess I'm just curious in terms of industry standard of
Yeah.
what we mean by
Yeah.
demo reel. Like, is it going to be as if you've like are even if you haven't booked a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of commercial
Right.
slots, should you produce it as if that is the case, or what's your sort of
Yeah,
take
so
on that?
I would absolutely suggest going to a studio, having or hiring an engineer, a producer, someone who um, So it's interesting. There's a few pieces to that. One is a lot of people think that using their own work, obviously, I booked the job, it's produced fully by a big company and it's airing. I'm going to use that for my demo reel. Make sure you get permission, make sure you review contracts because usage agreements can be really specific. And sometimes you're not allowed to use those clips for a demo reel specifically. Yes, you can maybe use it for your portfolio, but using it on a demo, you have to be really careful. And so, going back to what you said, the other thing about using different clips produced in different spaces, different years, different dates, different mics, they're all going to sound different. They just are. Teresa's on a different mic than I am. The HVAC is right above her. There are different factors that come into play that
Rude, way to point that
I
out. It just came on. I don't know if you guys
but you never know. And so if you love a commercial spot that you did 5 years ago, make sure all of the demo reel clips that you're using, I mean, it's not an absolute requirement, but it's best if they're all recorded. All of your demo reel clips are recorded using the same microphone, using the same studio space. It's just going to make it sound consistent throughout. You don't want one of your clips to sound muffled or the music's really loud, and then the next one, it's too quiet and your voice is too loud. And so having a professional engineer, someone who knows what they're doing, leaving it to them to do. I do know people, voice actors who love the engineering aspect. I think I produced my first demo reel myself. But so if you are good at that, you can try it, but just make sure you're getting second opinions. If you have an agent, always reach out and ask the agent what they're looking for. They're going to know what the demand is for the market. So they're going to say, yeah, let's skip, the Alaska Airlines commercial. They just did a huge campaign. So let's focus more on this product or this company. And so, they know the jobs that are currently booking that you're going to book. So always include other people. Yeah, I think it's always the best idea. Make sure that you're getting someone professional who knows what they're doing to produce your demo reel. Make sure that the music, they have licensing for that music. You can get in a lot of trouble for using music that, might have copyright restrictions, that kind of thing. And just make sure that everything sounds good from start to finish. And back to your point, Theresa, about it be a fully produced commercial. It doesn't have to be, you get 60 seconds on that commercial demo reel to showcase your stuff. And so it doesn't have to be a start to finish 15-second spot. You can have little snippets in there from each commercial. And that engineer will know where to cut it in and how to splice things together to showcase variety as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, that was a
Well,
lot of information.
no, that was amazing. That was amazing. Okay, and just for all of us noobs here, what is the difference between a demo reel and a portfolio? And why is it okay to put something in a portfolio but not a demo reel?
Yeah, so the demo reel is specifically one file that is showcasing 60 seconds of all of your work. So yes, that does sound like a portfolio, but it's very specific. It's geared toward things that are going to showcase your voice, kind of like your headshot is you on your best day. It looks like you, but it's you just shining. You look gorgeous. Maybe you've been photoshopped a little. You're just a little, right?
Just some light face tune. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. That 60-second spot is you just shining, you at your best. Those portfolio clips and those samples, those are going to showcase even more so a wider range of your work. You might have a 2-minute audiobook sample that showcases 5 different voices and maybe your ability to sing and speak other languages in that one sample. So absolutely you would want that on a portfolio. Maybe you did book a really big job for Nike, but you can't use that specifically on a demo reel because that was a year ago and now they're using another voice for their campaign and your contract said that you can't use it. But you can still maybe use it for a portfolio or have it on your YouTube page. And so The portfolio, that's where you get to kind of use work that you've done, work that you booked, and really showcase a wider range of your stuff. A demo reel should be specific to each genre also. You might have a commercial demo reel, an audiobook demo reel, an animation demo reel, a video game demo reel, an e-learning demo reel. What else, God? Corporate industrials. Yes,
Dang.
I know. So there you
Okay,
go.
that all sounds great, but
Yes.
what if you haven't booked anything yet?
Yeah.
Do you still like, I mean, yeah, I guess what's your recommendation
Yeah.
there? Is it worth it to try to make a portfolio? It sounds like it's worth it to try to make some version of a demo, like we were saying, at least like sample clips
Yes,
to be able to
absolutely.
submit.
Yeah, so you might not make your own demo out of the stuff you're auditioning for, but I keep a folder on my computer. I still have one today, multiple folders, but I label them, Jessica Geffen, friendly, conversational, engaging e-learning. And then that's just a generic sample. No product is mentioned in it. It's just a sample from an e-learning thing I auditioned for that I thought was good, but I didn't book it. And I use that. Again, nothing specific is mentioned within the audio clip when I play it back or in the name of the file. And I have a whole folder of, I mean, probably at least 50 files named very specifically. And so when I'm on backstage.com or voices.com and someone is asking for, samples from my portfolio that are similar to this script, they don't want a specific audition, or a demo reel, they just want samples of my work. That's where that portfolio comes into play. Just because you didn't book the job doesn't mean you didn't nail that audition. You never know the factors that come into play. That it may just be, by the way, this just happened in town with a job that came through. It may just be that they were also hiring the Spanish speaker voice, and they just decided, let me just use the same voice actor for the English and the Spanish because it's easier. It's one contract and it'll just be great. But you could have nailed that audition. So absolutely be thoughtful and strategic. I mean, that's going to save you time when you are doing auditions. When someone says, hey, if you don't have a demo, show me a project, a sample that's similar to the energy of this product or this script. And you can go, okay, I have 5 here. Which one works best? So always save your auditions, always keep them organized in a lovely file so that you have those. A lot of people will put, I have a YouTube portfolio. I put that in my signature line on my email. That way anybody can just click on that and see. I mean, not all of them have videos because it's voiceover, but they can go on to my YouTube and just scroll through and listen to some of my voice.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I would just say, as a slight pitch for your particular
Yeah.
services, I feel like the weekly workouts are a really great
Yes.
way. Like, if
Yeah.
you're just trying to practice and get content and like build out a demo reel, doing something like that is great because it is
Yeah.
literally, you can pick a different slot. You can pick each of those 5 different things, practice,
Yep.
and then you get the file at the end
Yeah.
and
And
you can use it
yeah, a
however.
lot
Yeah.
of people are doing that. So the weekly workouts are changing in December, but the cool thing is they're all custom scripts that we're working on in class together. And originally, when I started it out, we were using like magazine ads, which is also a great way to practice, especially older magazines. Like I use 2015 Portland monthlies, and so make sure the companies are still in existence. But no, that's a great way again to just utilize something where someone has already been paid to do the branding, they've already been paid to do the writing. So,
Yeah.
it's going to sound great because someone's already done all the work for you.
I love it. It's so smart. And it's so true that, like, just walking around in the world, there is already so much branding and advertising
Yeah.
that you can just like engage with, practice with, associate with. You're like,
Yeah.
well, here's a campaign that was
Hmm.
successful. And I feel like that's really true for voiceover, acting, modeling, kind of like really
Yeah.
anything in this world, big umbrella world that we're in. Okay, I do have one question
Okay.
here. How
Okay.
do you protect yourself from having your voice used for AI? Woo,
Ooh,
just the heavy hitting
I
questions.
know. Happy
Paraphrase
Friday. Here
thing
we
in the
go.
morning.
No, I knew this would come up, and if it wasn't brought up, I was going to mention it because it has been a very big conversation happening in the studio this week, especially. I just think Yeah, there is a lot of concern, as there should be with AI. There are AI training models, and we were just talking about this yesterday.
We were talking about this. I was
Yes,
gonna say, yeah, first of all, if you see those jobs come up for AI training models, don't take them.
right, right.
They pay really well, but they are a
Yeah,
trap.
it's like
It's okay
dangling.
if you've taken one.
Yes, I know. So there are training models and there are AI voice clone projects right now that look amazing because you go on to, voices.com and it looks like $80,000 to use your voice in perpetuity, which is another big thing to stop you in your tracks when you get excited about that dollar amount, meaning they can utilize your voice over and over as many times as they want to. They've paid you that one time, but they can use it for hundreds of years. There is a NAVA, look it up, NAVA AI writer on their website. And I know a lot of voice actors right now. It's free, and downloading that and adding that to any contract, and that client shouldn't bat an eye. Protect yourself. The last thing you want to, and it's interesting. I talk to a lot of people about this because it's scary. Who's to say someone isn't going to take a phone with an AI generator on it and just record my voice speaking today and use it in an AI generator? There are companies out there. I think 11 Labs has an interesting structure where they offer AI training models to voice actors, but they only pay you when it's used, when your voice is selected. Use your best judgment. I have people come in to record AI jobs all the time, and I'm just here to record for them. And so it's really up to you. But to protect yourself, make sure you're reading contracts. If you are ever confused and you do have an agent, absolutely ask those questions. There was a really controversial job that came through all the agencies, gosh, probably about 6 months ago. And people were like, oh my gosh, you didn't audition for that, did you? I'm like, I did not, but be careful who you say that around because a lot of people in the room may have auditioned for it proudly. So it's all about boundaries. It's all about your personal boundaries and your personal judgment. So just, it's AI is going to happen regardless. But just know what you are willing to do and what you're not, and that's okay. But absolutely make sure you protect yourself, reading every contract, making sure that if there isn't an AI disclaimer in that contract, you have the right to add something in, whether it is that NAVA AI writer or another just thing that you've written yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with I think it's good to just remember it's the Wild West
I know.
for all of us. Like
Yeah.
we're all just sifting through this together, and
Yeah.
there's so much we don't have control over. But yeah, like
Right.
you said, like what we do have control over is our own integrity, artistic
Exactly.
integrity, and
Yeah.
be like, am I willing to take an
Mm-hmm.
AI job, knowing that that will likely contribute to a lot of the forces that as actors we're all kind of talking about being really frustrating, right? Which is that it might eliminate work in the future or
Mm-hmm.
create this uncertainty,
Yeah.
right? And then I think the other thing is because it's the wild, wild west, we don't really know where it's going to go in terms of the legality of it.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, like personally, if I had to guess, I do think that we are going to see a lot of class action lawsuits. I
Yes,
do think that there is going to be a future where, like, I mean, it's already happening, but I think it
I
will
know.
continue to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, yeah, do the best you can to protect yourself in
Yeah.
the moment, document everything. I mean, I'll give you a personal example. I had a shoot recently. It was video, not voiceover, but I was a lot of people being onboarded for the shoot, and it didn't have a specific AI clause in the contract. So I reached out
Wow.
and asked, like, can you add it? And they're like, unfortunately, no, because it's like
Wow.
this big corporate thing, and like we don't plan to use it for AI. And I kind of had to make a judgment call at that point. And in my mind, I'm like, well, I have it in writing, them saying that we can't change the contract, but we don't intend. And if they then do go forward and steal my image and likeness for AI, I still feel like that's probably grounds for a lawsuit.
Hmm.
Obviously, nobody wants to get into legal battles,
Right.
but I do unfortunately think that might be the world we're kind of living in
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
where, obviously these AI companies are going to do whatever they can to get free
Yeah.
quality data. I mean, that's what we are to them essentially, right? Is
Yeah.
data points, right?
Exactly.
So, but yeah, I think reaching out and trying to like include I'm definitely trying to like include an AI specific
Mhm.
line in every contract I sign now just to like have those bases covered, right?
Yeah, and the other aspect to this too is use your voice to speak out against it if you feel inclined to do so. Human Voices Only is a campaign circulating on social media right now. There are ways to, advocate for our rights if you are feeling really, excited and heated about and all the emotions about AI. And but it's a tricky thing in a lot of industries right now, and so it is coming up a lot for just various conversations.
Yeah, and I would say also watch the casting sites themselves.
Hmm.
So Actors Access, I don't know if anybody here has followed this, but they like released a new privacy statement a
That's
few
right.
months ago
Hmm.
that included what you said, which is that like anybody auditioning on the platform, anything you upload to Access, so including your demo reel, including your headshots, including any audition you do on the platform, they can use in perpetuity in whatever way they want, including
Hmm.
future technologies, which is pretty devastating, right?
It's
Like
crazy.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. I'm self-represented. I don't have an agent yet. Like sites like Actors Access and networks are the way that I currently book jobs. And I do feel like it is this big um yeah, I feel like it's a question I'm asking myself
Yeah.
whether or not it's worth it to stay on that
Hmm.
platform. So I do think try and unfortunately it's unfortunate we're in this place, but I do think that staying up on kind of what these different companies and industries are doing and like what the current state of the legality
Hmm.
is pretty important
Yeah.
because there are a lot of shenanigans going
Yes.
on at the
Yes.
moment. There's
Yeah, I
shenanigans.
know. And there are
Yeah.
companies out there who are trying to do what are called voice banks, where they are trying to audition voice actors for all of these different things. Basically, you'll see them on some of these platforms where they'll have different sentences, just like one-liners, where they'll ask for it in different emotions. So deliver this line sad, deliver it happy, deliver it angry and frustrated and whimsically. I don't know. It's all these different things. And then they're using those to they'll match Theresa's voice and mine and they'll merge them together and create a new voice from that. That is what these companies are intending to do and are currently doing. That's why they exist. So definitely read the fine print, be careful.
Yeah. Okay. And then, Bob, I saw your story here that the radio station cut you. You heard your commercial in AI and told them they didn't have permission to use your voice for AI. Did they take it down you once you called them out on that, or did they keep it running? Do you know? Because that definitely to me sounds like case for a lawsuit for
Oh
sure.
yeah, he said
Like
he's not sure.
yeah. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
That is really frustrating.
Yeah, and we have
Yeah.
to be our own advocates when the negative stuff happens and when the positive stuff. One of my commercials I just found out was still airing and the usage agreement had ended already, I thought anyway. And I had to reach out. I reached out thankfully to my agent and was just like, what is happening? And he said, okay, okay. I looked into it. The usage is still going, but they are going to renew. And so you have to kind of, I
Nice.
know, which
Love
was
it from you. Wow.
That
Okay.
was exciting. That was really exciting. But had I not said anything, who's to know if it would have come up? So you
Yeah.
have to be your own advocate with a lot of this stuff. If it's a matter of when you get that usage contract and you've booked it and you record, let's say on November 23rd, putting a calendar entry in for next year, November 23rd, just to remind yourself that if it airs after that date, you are entitled based on the contract to that renewal fee.
Get that bag. Get that
Yes, I
bag.
know.
Yes. Could that be going on with the TikTok VO challenges? I wouldn't
I
trust
don't
them. I feel
know. I'm
like
not sure.
probably. Yeah, I mean, I think that if you are putting your voice and likeness out into
Hmm.
the digital ether, then yeah, I do think that there is a chance that, I mean, I know, for example, this isn't quite the same, but Instagram starting in December is going to start mining all like message
Oh,
conversations
wow.
and DMs to train AI models. I feel like jokes on them because like AI is just going to start sounding really hilarious. Like, but yeah, I mean, I do think like these huge companies are all trying to find new and innovative
Hmm.
ways to use AI.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if something like a TikTok VO challenge was something that
Yeah.
was either by TikTok or by a third party
Right.
aggregating and then also trying to turn it into those AI voices, like you're saying.
Hmm.
So, well, that was a fun and
I
playful and
know.
very upbeat
Oh, AI.
topic that we covered.
Yeah.
What are the best sites that seem to hit for those actors that are not represented by an agency? Which pay to plays are the best for the money? A great
Yeah, that
question.
is a good question. You know,
Yeah. You don't really do pay to plays. I feel like you're
so
anti pay to play.
not actually.
You're not. Okay.
No, 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 I'm not. I just, when I was first working for myself, and there is not a lot of voice work in Portland, Oregon. A lot of it is happening remotely, and we're booking it from our home studios using Source Connect. I was using what is technically a pay to play. It is Upwork now, is what it's called. It's changed a lot, but I had never used voices.com or voice 123. I'm actually the opposite. I'm actually all for pay to plays. I just don't have the time. I mean, there are strategies for pay to plays, and you have to take advantage of those strategies for them to work for you. And that means, and obviously after COVID, where everybody, on stage and behind the scenes or on camera, they needed to pivot because but they couldn't be doing the work in person. They all said, oh, I'll use my skill set for voiceover, which is awesome. But those pay to plays, exploded because everybody was stuck at home. So there are a lot of people on those sites, but big companies, I see on voices.com sometimes jobs come through that I got from my agent. So these clients, these big name clients, Amazon, Hilton, National Geographic, they're going to those pay to plays. So the interesting thing, though, I mean, there are people who are completely anti pay to plays because they worry that the rates that they're paying are not up to what they should be. They're not SAG-AFTRA level union rates. They're not comparable. And so it's just not etiquette wise, like, oh, why would you do that? Why would you're screwing us all over as union actors as well because you're taking it for pennies. But that's not necessarily the case. There is union work on those pay to play sites. So fun fact, I actually worked for Backstage Magazine, which is now backstage.com, for over 10 years. And I never used the platform for whatever reason. I feel so silly now that I didn't, because it's amazing. I just didn't have the time to be, I was booking a lot of audiobook work. And so I didn't have the time to commit to using the pay to plays. But it is a hustle. And Backstage, by the way, did a huge revamp recently of their voiceover division and the dashboard.
Oh,
And
cool.
it's awesome. It's really, really solid. I will say now is the time to be looking for pay to play memberships. And so last year, Black Friday is typically the cheapest of the year. It is when voices.com does their 50% off discount. And the thing to know about these pay to plays, the reason they're called that is you are paying your membership fee, your monthly or annual fee, in order to have access to those auditions. And one booked job on those sites typically, I mean, hypothetically, but should pay for the cost of that membership for the year.
For sure.
So it makes sense that you would have access to those jobs. They all work under different algorithms and have different structures. So find the one that works best for you. Some people love Voice 123. Some people love voices.com. Those are the two biggest for voiceover. Backstage is right under that. And I'm telling you, I mean, right now, backstage.com's, I think, is like $6 a month, $7 a month. Voices.com, I signed up last year for the first time at Black Friday because I was getting so many questions about the platform that I wanted to be able to answer. And I was just curious, why are people against them? Why are people, all about it? Why are people self-representing intentionally and not going through an agent? And there is so much work on voices.com and Voice 123. Bodalgo is another good one that used to be UK based. There are some to stay away from just because agencies may not represent you if you are on them.
Oh,
And yes, and that is because they are intentionally trying to uh, underpay
yeah.
for, they're basically selling.
It's like a scam. It's like a skeezy agent,
Yeah,
like the equivalent of that,
yeah.
where you're like you're technically legitimate or technically a business, but
Yeah. And so
it's
that's
not.
Fiverr is one, Voice Bunny, which now I think is called Studio Bunny. They're basically paying $5 for you to do a radio spot, but not technically. That's just what it seems like. There again are strategies in place with that. But all of these, so
See you,
voices.com,
Tyler.
I know, voices.com and voice 123. Oh, bye, Tyler. Voices.com and Voice 123 allow you to have free profiles. And when you have that free profile with your fabulous portfolio of samples or maybe a demo reel on there, you can get invited to audition and then submit those auditions for free. So you don't have to pay. I have somebody, one of the students here, comes in every week and has auditions. I mean, she's invited to audition for like hundreds of things without paying for a membership.
Wow.
That I know.
So wait, so then where does the membership come in?
So the membership comes in when you aren't invited to audition for these things and you just see
You want to
them and want to
submit.
audition. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
so all right. Attract rather than chase, I guess. Okay, like
I know.
that's
And
amazing.
yeah, and so I know people who make their full living doing voiceover work on Voice 123 and voices.com, and they have
Wow.
an agent, but just because you have an agent doesn't mean you're suddenly going to book a million things. Um,
Facts,
which is
which we know.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like that's a good transition
Yeah.
into a couple of questions I have. So I primarily do more like film and TV
Hmm.
acting, and I'm curious with voiceover agencies what the norm is in terms of it being regional versus more national in terms of the representation. Because
Hmm.
I feel like part of the reason people self-submit so much is they're like, well, I have a Pacific Northwest agent, but if I want to try to get on a show in Atlanta or New
Hmm.
York, then I either like need to find an agent out
Yes.
there or I need to be like hustling and
Yeah.
submitting and looking for those roles because my agent is only going to kind of be looking
Right.
where I am here. Is that true for voiceover as well? Or is the norm more that they're kind of looking because it is more remote
Hmm.
and that's the standard? Are they more looking at national spots for you and things like that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's changed a lot in the
Yeah.
past few years, mainly because of COVID. It used to be the norm that you would get the local or regional gig either from your Seattle agent or your Portland agent,
Yeah.
and you would book it and you would go into the studio and they'd hand you some tea and you'd just show up and record and you'd be good to go and then you'd leave and that was your job. And then Source Connect, has been around for a long time. There was ISDN where they patch in through the phone line, where you can pretty much work from anywhere. And so, your regional agent is typically only going to rep you for regional work. That's just the structure of how they do things. Now, Option is an agent here in Portland and they just expanded to LA. And so if you are available to go to LA or say Chicago, they can have you audition and submit for something in LA. And then when you book it, they're either going to have you, record it at a studio like the soundstage or record it via Source Connect at home in your home studio. That's broadcast quality. And so it is starting to become more popular that the agencies here in Portland, Oregon are going to rep you not just for Portland, Oregon, but more so regionally, but not necessarily nationally. So that's where a voice actor is going to need to have agency representation in all of the different areas. And so you might get a Chicago agent. You might think this is where I suggest thinking outside of the box because now we're seeing it happen with on camera stuff as well.
Yeah.
Think about where do you have a local place where you can crash.
Yeah.
Do I have I have family in Chicago. Boom, I can be a Chicago local if I need to be.
Yeah.
Be careful with this though, because at times tax film incentive money is funding the project.
Yeah, they'll typically say, so like
Yeah.
Washington, for example,
Yes.
if, and it's always so frustrating because we're like, we're right here. Portland is right here. But they'll usually say on the casting call, like, must be a Washington resident and must
Mhm.
prove that you're a Washington
Right. You have to
resident to
show a
be able, you have
license.
to show a
Yes.
license. Yeah.
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 A lot of the, health, Washington State Health, Department of Health. I did a casino job for Washington in Washington State, and you had to show your Washington State license when you got there. So
Yeah.
some of that stuff you have to really be careful about. But it is very common for a voice actor to have representation all over the world. Be thinking if you speak French, for example, you can have an overseas agent. They're looking for that specifically. Yeah,
That's
they're,
cool. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah, I guess that kind of leads me to a related question because I feel like one of the keys to success being a performer in the Pacific Northwest, it's a pretty small market,
mhm.
is you kind of just have to do it all or
Yeah,
get really creative and scrappy
yeah,
about what you do. So I feel
yeah,
like I know, like for me, I'm trying to do on camera work, I'm trying to do voiceover work, I'm trying to do more like commercial modeling work too.
yeah,
Like I'm really just trying to like piece it all
yeah.
together into something. And I guess I'm curious what your advice would be in terms of because everything we've talked about here, there's so many niches
Hmm.
just within voiceover.
Right,
I mean, you can focus just on the animation. You can
right.
focus, or you talked about having five different
I
demo
know.
reels for five different
Yeah.
types of voiceover work. How do you balance that, especially being a performer here
Yes.
in a smaller market, of trying to do it all versus trying to really master and get masterful at one
Yeah.
particular medium? Yeah,
Hmm.
what do you have any suggestions for
Yeah.
that?
So when I first started doing voiceover and audiobooks full time, I was also doing on camera work and not full time, but professional theater, which is probably a full time job. You're rehearsing for hours every night and then shows on evenings and weekends, matinees, evening shows.
I like to
Uh,
say I have a full-time job. I'm just not
yes.
paid for it.
There you go, right? And so I found personally, everybody is different, but I found that I could do three of those four at one time
Mm-hmm.
without burning out or getting stressed. So I could do audiobooks, I could do theater, and I could do on camera.
Yeah.
The minute I booked a voiceover thing, it was like, oh my God, it's too much. I could do audiobooks, theater and voiceover, but the minute I had to be all day on set,
Mm,
I was like, oh my God, now I'm going to be behind on the audiobook. Now I'm going to be behind on the voiceover stuff. So finding that balance, knowing and being real with yourself. I know I've done over 100 audiobooks. I know that audiobooks burn me out. They just do. They're probably the only thing
yeah.
that burn me out, but I love doing them. So I have to be very strategic. I have to make sure my calendar is set up appropriately. Yes, which is ironic just because I have booked some audiobooks recently. So I'm like, oh my gosh, my head is spinning. But yeah, I wanted to also address, John had asked a question about the different variety and the different markets. The
Yeah.
other thing I will say about that is you will find probably pretty quickly, probably quicker than you realize, the things that you're good at, the things that you enjoy doing. I loved audiobooks. So yeah, it's a bummer that they kind of started to burn me out a bit, but it's when you're doing like multiple audiobooks at one time where I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
Who's Laura in chapter 4? No, but I found very early on that I really enjoyed nonfiction audiobooks. I found very early on that I still love, I don't know why I'm weird, e-learning. And and
I love that.
e-learning
Yeah.
matched my voice really well because
Yeah.
of the theater training. I'm over articulate and that's annoying to some commercial. I sound too polished is what I hear from some commercial producers.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah. That I think that's great advice. And I was going to
yeah,
say, I feel like that is something that rings true for me, sort of spanning the different genres. You have like on
Hmm.
camera voiceover. This is like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I know that what I like to do on camera is sort of grounded, naturalistic performances.
Right.
So it makes sense as an extension of that to look for voiceover work
Right.
that is more conversational and grounded and naturalistic.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody who's like, I just really love doing over the top character work,
Right.
maybe focusing on animation or
Hmm.
certain commercial roles that are more in that vein,
Right.
it makes more sense. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that is a really great way to kind of distill the endless
Right.
options that there are and be like,
Yeah.
okay, if I am going to do all these things, I'm going to try to at least master this style of it
Right.
before I expand. Because
Yeah.
at least for me, I know that it can feel really overwhelming sometimes if there's just so many different directions you
Right.
can go with it. And sometimes you'll see people who are naturally really good at something different than you, and you're like,
Hmm.
oh, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
You just have
Yeah.
to remind yourself that we're like, but I'm good at different things.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's like I really do believe there is a place for everyone,
Yep.
and there you just have to find,
Hmm.
what is enjoyable for you and where you fit
Yeah.
in.
And that it's interesting that you said, yeah, there is a place for everyone, because I used to get a lot of feedback and questioning from friends and family outside of the industry when I would send auditions I'd get to my friends. I mean, obviously not like my agent auditions, but like I'd see a voiceover agent or an audiobook and I'd go, "Oh my God, all of you audition."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Why are you doing that? You're just creating more competition for yourself." But your voice sounds entirely different than mine.
Yeah.
We don't know what the client is looking for. So why not just get the practice? Hopefully somebody will book it if I'm not going to book it.
Yeah, I know. And it's
Somebody I
so hard. I feel like
know.
that is like the hardest thing is having that mental conversation
Yeah,
around rejection of
right,
being like, they're not rejecting you.
right.
And I bet if you were in the creative director's role or you were the one trying to produce this project, you would understand, this subtle story you're trying to tell and
Hmm.
how you need somebody really specific to slot in. And like most of the time it has nothing to do with you, and you're a perfect fit for something
Hmm.
else, and it's really not. I mean, I think it's a constant practice of
Yeah.
learning to let go of be like, it's not about me, or it
Hmm.
just, it has nothing to do with my talent or my performance
Right.
or my ability.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, and
yeah,
really quickly, just to address the question about your ratio on those pay to plays,
yeah.
VO, I always say it wrong. It's not VO Pros, it's V Pros, PROS 123.com. I think that's the right URL, but it is they call themselves voice 123 super nerds, I think, is their terminology. And it's people who spent a lot of time studying the algorithms behind the pay to play structures. So specifically in their case, voice 123, but a lot of them use the same algorithms. They can hurt your ratio can get hurt when mainly they aren't listening to your auditions, which happens. And so it changes the visibility on the site. If you're auditioning for something that's longer, a long format audition, and that doesn't get listened to by any of the clients, that's going to harm your profile statistics behind the scenes. It's like built into the code or the
That's why I had no
algorithm.
idea. That's wild.
I know it's
Yeah.
wild. And so all of these sites have their strategies and their algorithms. And so, yeah, I mean, I honestly, this is going to sound crazy, but I had somebody ask me recently, how often do you audition? So when I was doing this full time and I didn't have the studio yet, that was all I was doing. I
Yeah.
mean, I literally was submitting I'm not kidding, hundreds of auditions a week.
Go off,
I know,
Queen.
no, it's crazy though. But that,
Yeah.
it's also really fun. I'm a weird one. I really enjoy
That's
auditioning.
amazing. Well, you're in the
But
right place.
yes,
You
but
have the right
also,
livelihood.
there you go. But also, it's just fast paced. If you see that voices.com audition pop up and you wait 10 minutes to do it, 50 people may have submitted by then. And that's just going to lower your likelihood of being listened
Too.
to. And yeah, so
Yeah.
that's tricky.
And I do think that that is a reality we're also dealing with
Yes,
kind of post COVID.
right,
And I think this is true for on camera work too, just this shift towards more things being digital, just
right.
more of these like bigger jobs being posted on
Hmm.
these big sites is Yeah, I mean, I think for a single role, people are getting
Oh yeah.
thousands of applicants. So that's the other thing too, I feel like rejection wise, is that
Hmm.
like you don't even know if you were considered. That sounds
Right.
harsh, but like,
Yeah,
and it's nothing personal, and it might have been that like a casting assistant had to sift through 3,000.
exactly.
And I do think a lot of those are going to be amateur submissions because anybody can sign up. And I think it is more difficult work for casting directors now too to kind of find the quality auditions. And so I do
Right.
think that there is just like a lot of competition and it is a little harder to sort of like break through the noise.
Right.
I think the plus side of that, like on the flip side of that, it's much more democratized now. Like you
Hmm.
don't have to be in LA
Right.
to get considered for
Right.
a major role, which is incredible and wasn't possible
Hmm.
really a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
So
And John had asked a question that we missed. Let's see. Are there big differences in the market for the variety of voice work? Absolutely. I mean, there
I mean, like
so
Ryan does just
I know. So
animation
Ryan
video games,
Philbrook,
right?
who does
Yeah.
the animation and character work masterclass here, he just does animation and characters. That's his shtick. And he's fantastic at it. So why do anything else? Um, then I have a friend of mine, Cody Roberts, who's an audiobook narrator, and that's all he does. He's phenomenal at it, but he doesn't do commercial stuff. And he only does fiction. That's not true. He's done nonfiction, but he prefers fiction. So you will find where you fit into the market. You know, I haven't done a ton of animation. I love it. There isn't a lot of animation work here.
Yeah.
Um, but casting call club is something I always throw out there, especially just to be practicing completely free. You don't pay anything to be on that platform. Are you going to make a ton of money? Probably not. But some of the jobs on there are starting to pay. There was a friend of mine came in, a student came in here, and she booked a job on Casting Call Club. It's all animation and video games, Casting Call Club and audio dramas. You won't find commercial work on there or audiobooks necessarily. But she made 800 bucks on a job. And it's another credit on your resume. If you haven't gotten an agent yet, or you are looking to expand your representation in other markets, that you have to have that strong resume, not just that demo reel. Just like on camera, you have to have a resume and a headshot. You have to have that strong resume as a voice actor. They may even look at your resume before looking at your or listening to your voice.
Yeah.
So yes.
That's it. We've got a do you ever know if you've been listened to, or do you just assume if you didn't hear back, you didn't book it? Yeah. Unfortunately, if you don't hear back, you just assume. Certainly, if like
Yeah.
the shoot date has passed,
Oh
I
yeah.
do think it's one of the most frustrating things
Yeah.
about being in this line of work is that there's just no feedback. And I saw there was a question earlier about if you're getting auditions, but you're not getting callbacks or
Right.
booking, sort of what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, I watched this really great um or listen to this podcast by somebody who was the casting director at HBO for a long time talking about exactly this. And in the pursuit of a full-time acting career of whatever sort, there's sort of different stages that you have to hit
Hmm.
and that you are going to want to sort of troubleshoot and workshop on along the way. So the
Right.
fact that you're getting auditions and getting lots of auditions is already a huge win
Yes,
because
that's
it
right.
means that you've made it to that level where you have compelling enough marketing materials, you do have that demo reel or that headshot or whatever you need to be invited to audition, which is amazing. So first of all,
Yes, I know.
congratulations. Yes. And
It's a
then
victory. Celebrate the victories.
it's a victory for sure. And then I think from there, yeah, I think there is a little bit of troubleshooting of like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm getting the auditions. Why am I not booking
Hmm.
them? And yeah, I think it is really frustrating that
Yeah.
we don't receive feedback because that obviously would be the easiest way to solve that problem is
Yep.
if you heard from a casting director why you didn't get the role. And
Right.
I think it would be so illuminating if
Hmm.
we did have that information because I bet we would all be so surprised at how much of the time it has nothing to
Oh,
do with
absolutely.
what you think that it is. I feel like
Yeah.
in my head I'm always like, it's because I look weird and because of like this and that. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, they just listened to the first one and they liked it, or they needed somebody who was like slightly older, or it's like there's just a million reasons.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice, perhaps in particular, of like how to workshop that
Yeah.
piece?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think so. Something funny that I started doing, and I think it's a good way to assess that it really, more often than not, has nothing to do with you personally. So try not to take it personally. Yes, I think Bob said, you shoot your audition and then you forget about it. You record your audition, you forget about it. Yes, you don't want to nitpick every little thing. It was a little easier, I think, when we were going into the casting office or you were going in for in-person auditions where you couldn't replay it back over and over again and analyze every little thing. Oh, there was a hair out of place. That's why I didn't book it. No. But if you're not getting called back, that's where you want to go. Okay, I'm not getting shortlisted. I'm not getting called back. Um, so you're not gonna know why. Like, unfortunately, you could reach out to an agent and say, hey, are you able to watch this? If you have a manager, sometimes they'll step in and they'll watch your self tape. There are acting coaches out there, especially right now where everything's digital, where you can send them your self tape and they'll kind of analyze it for you and maybe for a fee, and say, yeah, this is what I saw. This is what I didn't see that I would want to see. The other thing that I will say that I started doing, I got into this habit, which can be a good habit or a bad habit, depending on the person. So
What are
I
you
know I'm
gonna
going to
say?
leave this out there. Lots and lots. No, I'm just kidding.
Could go
All
both
the time.
ways.
No, I'm just kidding. No, just kidding. No, I would bookmark in my system the auditions and when they were being broadcast, and I would go see who booked the spot and I would listen. Or, it started, unintentionally. I heard a commercial airing. We used to watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune every single night around that time. And so I'd be cooking dinner and I'd hear something and I'd go, I auditioned for that. Who booked it? And I'd hear their voice and I'd go, oh my God, they're so much younger than I am. Or they sound so
So
different than
different.
me.
Yeah.
Oh, they went with a completely different vibe. Or, oh my gosh, they hired a male voice. I thought they were only looking for a female voice. So that for me became research. I enjoyed doing that because it was research, not because I was judging myself. Or so don't ever do it that way. Use it to say, okay, it really did have nothing to do with me. Or, oh
Yeah.
my God, they for on camera, especially, there's a lot of family roles being cast right now. They could have already cast the lead daughter. So they're framing that entire family around that daughter and how she looks and how she
Totally.
sounds. So it's not you. Keep auditioning. If you aren't getting called back or shortlisted, that's where you might want to get into some classes, work with a coach, work with an acting coach or a voiceover coach, and go through those auditions together and say, what could I have done to strengthen that? Maybe you nailed it, and maybe it just, again, had nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Well, and I feel for me personally, again, it's so hard to get out of your head with this, but I really try to focus on like this is where the art comes in, the
Yeah.
mystery, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it's like this is a creative practice and you
Yes.
have something to bring to it that nobody
Correct.
else does. And so the part that you can work on is being like, am I bringing the quality to this that I want? Like, do I feel really happy with my performance?
Right.
Do I feel like I'm bringing my full self to the table? And then I think you can just sort of rest confident that it's like,
Yeah.
well, then when there's a job where they're looking for me,
Mm-hmm.
my essence,
Yep.
it's going to be perfect and it's going to land,
Yep.
it's going to hit. And I think if you don't feel confident yet in being like, yeah, my unique essence is like coming through every time, then maybe that's where you can
Yeah.
workshop.
And I think we're at 11 o'clock. I think
Yeah.
that's an excellent place to end because I was going to say, going off of what Theresa just said, you're the only one. This sounds so cheesy, and I know it does, but it's seriously true. You're the only one who can bring you to your work, to your art. And so there is no one, there's someone out there who might sound a little like you. That's happened. I'm like, oh my God, that sounds just like me, but it's not me. That's weird. Like when we used to go into the casting office and everybody kind of looks like a version of you. Um, but you bringing you as a human, your heart, your personality, to your character, anything about you, your uniqueness to that read, no one else is going to be able to replicate that. And so that's what's going to make your audition stand out more than anything else. So yeah.
Amazing. Did we
Yes,
do it?
we
Did we
did
do a Q&A?
in person for the first time ever. I know there were a lot of questions that we didn't answer,
Yes, but thank
but
you
thank
so
you so much for
much.
being here. If you have other questions, you're always welcome to reach out. Yeah, come to some weekly workouts and maybe I'll surround those around the lesson that we talk about. But really, really awesome. It was so great to be with you, even from afar this
Yes.
morning. And yes, and thank you so much to Theresa Diederich for being here.
Thank you so much
Check
for
her
inviting
out.
me.
Yes, check her out on Instagram. Check her out. She just did a big shoot yesterday, and so I know we're not supposed to talk about it yet, but yeah.
May we all be booked and busy
Yes,
going
very
into
soon.
2026.
Yes,
So,
yes. Awesome.
yes.
Well, thank
All
you so
right.
much, everybody.
All right.